So my name is Joshua Rhodes, and we are at the University of Texas at Austin. So for the past few days, we've been hosting an executive education version of our Energy, Technology, and Policy course, which is a wide survey course on all forms of how we produce, consume, and the energy and the regulations around it. Yeah, so some of the major things happening in energy in Texas at this time is we are deploying a lot of renewables. We have more wind installed than the next 4 U.S. states combined, and recently became #1 in utility scale solar. And so we're in the process of providing more energy to more industry across the state. We're expecting demand to grow, and we're looking to build more infrastructure to supply that demand. I think one of the biggest lessons that we learned in Texas and could be applicable are kind of if you build it, they will come. We built the infrastructure, we built the transmission lines, and that allowed us to deploy a lot more wind in the western part of the state, but then it also allowed us to electrify oil and gas operations out there as well to reduce their carbon emissions. And then now that has spurred the development of more infrastructure, more transmission to be built, opening up even more parts of the state. And so I think that's been the big lesson in Texas is if you build it, they will come. So some of the challenges, infrastructure exists in space, and so in Texas, most of the land is privately owned, and so you really do have to work with landowners to make sure that it's beneficial for both. A lot of the work that we've done has looked at landowner payments and taxes that this infrastructure pays, and in Texas that's $20 billion roughly each for the current fleet of renewables that we have, and we've seen landowners like this resource. They kind of think of it as like a drought-proof crop. It pays whether or not it rains or not, and it's injected a lot of money into local schools and our equivalent of councils and our counties. And so but some of the things we've had to do are also make sure that that there's plenty of outreach, and we talk to people before the development comes. Because when you talk to people as the development's coming, tensions can be high. But if you're preemptive in talking to groups and seeing where they would prefer to see infrastructure being built, that can just make it easier down the road whenever it does show up. Texas is the #1 U.S. producer and consumer of oil and gas, as well as electricity and now renewable energy. And essentially, it's all kind of coexisted together. It's more of an energy expansion than necessarily fully transition. And we've taken advantage of all sorts of energy. I think that it is possible to get the high levels of renewables. We're seeing that in various areas across the U.S., and we've got lots of low carbon generation here in the state as well. But it is going to require building infrastructure. That's what we've seen. The resource isn't always where the people are, and that's what it's going to require.